Hello everyone, welcome to our latest Q&A session. We have Obat.
Yeah, what's up?
What's up? And McLean.
Hi.
So as you can see, Gabrielle is not here today because she is in vacation.
Hell yes.
Well deserved.
Yeah.
Well earned.
Well
Yeah.
deserved.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I saw she was still playing Dead by Daylight on stream.
of course.
It'd be difficult to go away
Of course.
and go completely away. And this is Pat.
Hi.
Check out Pat.
Yeah, she's kick-ass.
And I have awesome socks.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So today for our Q&A is gonna be pretty short and sweet.
I like that.
Just like us.
Yeah.
Aw, well, not all of us.
Okay.
I'm short, so that's fine.
And he's sweet.
Aw, that's
Aw,
wonderful.
come on. Okay.
We got game mechanics today.
Hell yes, game questions.
Yeah.
Game mechanic questions.
Yeah, we went out, posted some desire for game mechanics questions, and we got a few.
Hell yeah. That was on the Dead by Daylight forums, right?
Official Dead by Daylight forums, URL here, check them out.
Bam. Ooh. I hope it only came up when Pat showed it. That would be the best.
Okay.
Shall we dive in?
Let's dive in. Dude, what is our first question? Who's it from?
Okay, so first question. It is from Amneoss, sorry.
Amneoss.
Amneoss.
Thank you.
So, first question. Will we ever see any perks that affect the bloodlust mechanic directly?
Interesting.
That's a good question. So we do have one perk that does this already.
It doesn't directly affect your bloodlust, but
That's
it's based on bloodlust. So yeah, we're talking about Beast of Prey,
Yes.
which came out with the Huntress.
Yes, but it also got reworked in our latest chapter patch, I believe.
So for those without an encyclopedic knowledge of perks, Beast of Prey activates when your bloodlust hits its first tier and it hides your red stain, which you can't see, but you have to take it on faith that now your red stain is hidden from survivors until you lose your bloodlust.
Yeah.
Which is an improvement over the old version, which activated for a set amount of time and then had a cooldown of 2 whole minutes, which may have been a little overboard.
A little overboard. We also gave you extra blood points for hunting.
That's true.
And that's the scaling aspect of Beast of Prey. So this is, as you mentioned, not directly affecting bloodlust, but working off of bloodlust. So,
It's the only perk that mentions bloodlust.
also true. So, have we ever thought about making a perk that actually
Yeah, I
buffs
mean,
bloodlust or changes bloodlust?
we've gone there, but for those who've been following the patches, there's been, well, if you've been following the streams, there's been a lot of talk around bloodlust.
There's been a lot of talk about bloodlust.
It's a pretty controversial mechanic.
That's true.
Right? And so there's been a lot of back and forth about it, and I don't think we've ever been at a place where we felt like this was nailed down enough to create a perk that makes it stronger or weaker or anything like that. It might be one of those mechanics that has a very narrow range of viability, where it's got a sweet spot, and then a little more or a little too more, less rather, is too much or too little, respectively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm imagining the way that the people are looking at this is like it could be a riff on the speeds that you're gaining, so different speed increments. It could even be perhaps you lose the speed increments and you gain, I don't know, vault speed or something crazy.
Yeah, like something other, like a different bonus instead of the speed bonus.
Oh, okay, so straight up something additional.
Or something like that.
That'd be cool too.
That would be cool.
Yeah. So not something that we've done.
Yeah.
You know, obviously that's what the question was phrased as, but interesting all the same. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are we adverse to doing something of this nature?
I mean, for a while we didn't even want to put the name Bloodlust on a perk because we weren't really sure how that would work out. It's also not necessarily clear that if you're a new player and you're reading the perk description and you see Bloodlust and you might not even be sure what that is. I think for a while we had Beast of Prey's description just saying if you are in a chase for a certain amount of seconds.
Definitely did.
We did. Although right now there's actually a slight difference between the you're in a chase and you have bloodlust kind of stuff. So it wasn't entirely accurate, so we just decided to go with the simplest thing and say, hey, you got bloodlust, so here you go.
Yeah.
So could there be more bloodlust perks in the future? That's a big maybe. It's far too early to say anything about it now, but I guess we can't rule it out.
Can't rule it out.
There you go.
Bloodlust was almost a perk itself, as a little side trivia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was an interesting time.
It was a great time. So, Pat, do we have more questions?
Of course.
Give me those.
So.
Who's this one from?
Okay, so I don't know if I want to say.
You gotta. Come on, say it.
That's hilarious.
So next question is from Twinkletits.
Say that again, what?
I think I missed that.
Twinkletits.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Wonderful.
Short
So-
and sweet.
Here it is. Were 360s intended? And if not, what's your opinion on them?
I love this question.
It's a great question.
So, can you tell us a bit about 360s?
So you were on the development process a little earlier than I was.
Yeah.
But when I came onto the project, 360s were not really a thing. They were starting to become popularized by Twitch streamers.
I think a few Twitch streamers started doing this.
Yeah, I think 72 Hours was kicking ass at some point and just spitting the shit out of everybody.
Yeah.
Breaking ankles, as we put it, which was great. It's an interesting thing, Demo Daylight. I don't believe people were as good at chasing, or being chased rather,
Yeah.
and keeping a chase going as they are today. I think that's flat out,
Absolutely.
straight true. I mean, loops, we had infinites at that point in time, and people weren't as effective as they are today in terms of running people for forever.
Right. I mean, these days, even without the pure infinites, we have great survivor players who are able to do all kinds of long chases, and they don't have anywhere near the abusive tools they used to.
Yeah, and at 360, being able to pull one of those off and then get it to another object, right, and buying yourself that little extra time, can extend the chase. And this is a skilled action, I think, to a certain extent.
I'd say so.
The killer himself can play into a 360, make it a lot easier to do a 360, commit to a hit when they shouldn't have committed to a hit. Their turning rate is not high enough, so they're not going to be able to hit you anyways. There are things that will allow a 360 to be easier to do.
Yeah.
I don't think it's all on the survivor part, but it definitely wasn't intended.
No. I mean, I think we said this a few times, but during early development, we played this game more immersed, more stealthily. We didn't have a lot of pro chasers, I would say, on the team at first.
Pro runners?
Pro runners. Well, pro people being in a chase.
Fair. Both sides.
Yeah, I'd say we probably had some people who played killer pretty aggressively, but we didn't have many who played survivor all that aggressively. Obviously, we had to reevaluate once we put the game in the hands of players and saw how they preferred to play it.
Holy crap.
And, it was an adjustment process. So no, I wouldn't say that the 360s are intended, but I don't think we dislike them. I would say the only time I think it might be problematic is in cases where the control schemes are different, like on
Controller? You just say controller straight up.
if you're playing with the controller, the turn rate, especially for a killer, is limited by the controller. So you have to crank your sensitivity all the way up or do all kinds of things. This is something I would like to be able to address. We have no date whatsoever for anything like that. But it does feel probably more unfair. Mind you, there's still play that you can do on a console as simple as just backing up if you're sensing a 360 coming.
I stop and then just run into me and I'm just like, whack.
Yeah, it's not it's not an exploit. It's not unbeatable. You're just moving well, and that's cool. And I appreciate seeing that kind of skill in players.
And I can't do it.
No, huh? It's all about looking at that killer, being able to look in a different direction that you're running, and then being able to turn against it at a constant rate. Yeah. I've seen people now that they don't just do a full 360 and they do a 360 and they do up and they do like a W kind of thing.
Yeah.
And killers just are turning with it and they completely miss. It's wonderful. Now, I don't think we're not looking to remove 360s at any point, but to just go back over how we answered. Not intended.
Not intended.
But a very interesting side effect of the gameplay mechanics that are currently in game, and not something that we're necessarily looking to remove at the moment.
Yeah.
Thank you for that question.
Cool. All right, so next question is from Knell. Is using voice communication an intended game mechanic? As in, was it designed and balanced for this game in regards to solo survivors and killers?
Great question.
Yeah.
I think we've heard this one a few times.
We definitely have.
I don't know if we've talked about it on stream.
No. I don't know if people even remember how our game came out. Like, we didn't even have Survive with Friends at the very beginning.
That reminds me of a neat anecdote.
Tell me.
Because I often hear that Survive with Friends was not intended and was only added in response to player complaints and player demands.
Oh, interesting.
And I was there at the time. And also, I think our game director talked about this last time he was on stream, is that the Kill Your Friends mode and the Survive with Friends mode were always intended. It's just that at the time, we only had time to do one of these modes before release. And we chose Kill Your Friends.
Fair. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I've seen that I've seen that myth out there quite often. So no, from the very beginning, we intended to let people play with their friends.
I'm glad you cleared that up.
Yeah.
So with that being said,
that being said, however, this is a game where we try to have this horror atmosphere, this sense of isolation. There's no spoken dialogue in the game. It's very lonely and quiet, except for the pounding drums when you're about to die. And that's all intentional. It really it builds up the feeling of the game.
Yeah.
But realistically, this is a game in 2018 now. We're not going to tell people you can't talk to your friends while you play the video game.
I mean, like Dark Souls and Bloodborne has tried this, and we've always gotten around voice chat, whether it's just talking on the phone with my buddy. You can get around anything using cans, strings.
Oh yeah,
they will chat together. That's my point.
Exactly. We can't stop people from communicating.
It's going to happen.
So you've often talked about your desire to try to lessen the gap a bit by giving more information that a coordinated group could have to solo players.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have a lot of details of what that looks like in the future.
No.
We've talked about lots of crazy ideas.
In the past, it's the showing the obsession to everyone, for example.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. This was a subtle change from a little bit ago, where it used to be that if you weren't the killer or the obsession, you wouldn't know who the obsession was.
Exactly.
Now you do, and you can get some interesting information like the little entity arms wiggling
when the
obsession's being chased. That's information that a Survive with Friends group could have easily given each other, but now solo players are able to see that.
Yeah.
I would love to see some more subtle things like that, and maybe perhaps some bigger ones in the future.
Me too.
Nothing to announce on that end. But to bring it back to the comms, because we're getting a little bit too far off there.
Them comms.
So was the game balanced for it originally? I don't know if I would say it was or wasn't really.
I think when you look at how much the game has grown over the last 2 years,
mm-hmm.
and how much we've learned about our player base and learned about how our game plays and how the mechanics go and play out, I think it's an adjustment period
mm-hmm.
that we need to do regardless of anything else. Comms, we knew were never going to be shut down, right? We just didn't want to have it forced on players. I think that was one of the biggest mantras that we went and followed.
So like if somebody didn't want to hear voices, we didn't want you to fire up the game and hear someone's voice in your ear.
Yeah. We didn't want like the trapper to be chasing you going, la, 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 they're just going, I'm gonna catch you, and you're just like, God, just shut up, man.
Yeah.
That's what the injured music is for.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, the chase music.
It drowns out all that kind of stuff.
It does.
Yeah.
So, I don't think that's something that we want to go towards. I could be wrong. This could be something that does change in the future, but
I would say that it does affect our game design now, where we're not going to put any designs that hinge on some survivors knowing something while other survivors don't. And now when we work on other mechanics, we always have to ask ourselves, how is this going to work for a solo group versus how is this going to work for a coordinated group? So that's always a question that we have to ask ourselves now. So we do keep this in mind these days. Mm-hmm. Even if it's not the intended way to play, we just gotta acknowledge that that's how some people do.
You kind of have to embrace today.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's all about love in the future, and it's Dead by Daylight. Next question.
All right, next question. It's from DocOctober.
DocOctober.
Hello, Doc.
Hey, what's up?
Any chance the early development game mechanic of climbing might come back into the game?
I thought this question was wild because I had never heard of that in the game. I've been here pretty early. You've been here since pretty early. I don't think either of us have ever actually seen or heard about this.
Not really, unless people were speculating about, what was that killer way back in the day that was supposed to be the
crawler.
The crawler, that's the one.
Yeah.
So maybe there was mentioning of that. Maybe crawling indicates climbing. Maybe. I mean, that's pretty close.
Right? For those who want to know more about this, way back when, before we released The Nurse.
Yes.
Before we released The Nurse, we had a stream where we were looking through some art book stuff.
I think that's in our art book.
It is in our art book.
Yeah,
but we happened to be looking through some art book art, and we were looking at specifically some concept art from the swamp, which had not been released yet. And there was a tiny little figure in there, which was kind of like a early version of the hag.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And people were asking us a lot of questions about it, and we were being evasive, and people had dubbed it the crawler.
The crawler.
which was not what the hag turned out to be in the end.
So we wanted to hear more about it, which is why we brought it up again.
Yeah. Anyway, as for climbing, I can't say there's any plans about climbing. No. And it seems like it would be perhaps an unreasonable amount of work to go back to existing maps and change everything to support all kinds of new gameplay like that.
Yeah, height is not really a thing that we've explored at the moment in Dead by Daylight.
We've got dropping down from heights.
Well, we have that, but I meant like we haven't climbed the foundry.
No.
We've got stairs that go up there, but even the nurse getting on some collisions can cause some problems. Yeah. But that would be quite interesting. I would love to have like a hag staring down at me through the shack roof.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm not sure about it, but who knows?
That's okay. Your opinion matters.
I would love to see new mechanics slowly start to infiltrate new maps. I think that would be a really interesting way to make maps feel different. Mm-hmm. Who knows on that end? But it's certainly on my personal wish list.
You heard it here first.
All right.
Louis has a personal wish list. Yes. I'd love to see this. It's probably pretty epic, actually. Next question.
So next question. It's from Shoot a Man 777.
Shoot a man.
All right. So what?
Is he a bad man? We don't know. Just a man.
What is the speed lost by a killer or speed gained by survivors when going around each loopable tile in the game in meters second?
Damn, that's a good question.
All right. There's a lot to unpack in this one.
Lots to unpack. So are we talking about like how do you want to actually?
I mean, we got to attack this from multiple angles.
Okay. So do you want to talk about like in a regular, like a straight line?
Yeah.
Most of our killers move 4.6 meters a second.
Yeah.
Which is quicker than the survivors. The survivors are moving at 4 meters a second.
Yep. Which means we close the gap between them at
0.6 meters a second. You
Right.
take basically the killer's speed and you minus survivor's speed and you get the gap closing distance. But this is in a straight line, right? Now, the question is about loops specifically, right? Mm-hmm. And when it comes down to loops, it's no longer a straight line. Now, the capsule size, so how big the navigation circle is, will actually change how quickly people catch up.
Yeah.
Right?
Because if you're looking at a loop, you're not going to run inside the wall itself. You have to run outside the wall, and the distance of how far from the wall you're going to be is based on your character's collision capsule.
Yeah.
And it turns out
his thickness ratio.
Thickness. How thick our characters are.
It
turns out that some characters are thicker than other characters. Specifically, the killer collision capsule is slightly thicker than the survivors.
Yeah.
In fact, I guess we're here to shed some light on some numbers.
Yeah.
The radius of the survivor's collision capsule is 45 centimeters.
It's true. So what is the radius of the killer's capsule?
50 centimeters.
Oh, damn, that's 0.5 difference. Unless it's a diameter.
And if you look at this is the radius. So if you look at the diameter, which we're about to do some math soon coming up.
Exciting.
That means we have a diameter of 90 centimeters versus a diameter of 1 meter, respectively.
Yeah. A 10% difference.
Which is a 10% difference, which then, if you imagine that you're running around a square, that means that you're going to trace another square on the outside of that square, which is going to be a whole, you take your radius, extra.
Yes.
So that means that the killer is actually going to be tracing a slightly longer loop around the object than the survivor is.
This is all true so far.
I mean, I'm not planning on telling any lies at any point here. I mean, I might make some mistakes. In fact, hopefully I've got a much better quality version of this picture that I'm going to put up on the stream.
Hell yeah.
Which is our old friend, the water tower, which is like probably the largest, squarest thing that you're likely to run loops around.
All around the water tower.
And actually, I think I did make a math mistake on this. But anyway, I'll double check it, and hopefully I'll have a fixed version by the time this video goes out.
You won't even see there was an error. Oh, wait, they might have.
So we're looking at the water tower, which is like maybe 8 meters to a side, approximately. I didn't actually take the time to measure it.
All right.
Also, because it doesn't quite matter, because there's also lots of little debris that makes it much more complicated around the outside. So if we're just imagining that it's 8 meters to the side, then the actual sides of the loop that the killer is going to run is actually 9 meters. Whereas the...
because they have to go from corner to corner, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas the loop that the survivor is going to run is going to be slightly less than that.
Yeah.
So I did some quick back of the napkin math here and saw that if you did a whole loop around the whole thing, the survivor would gain 0.8 meters compared to if they had done the same distance in a straight line.
Right.
And that, if we use our 0.6 meter catch-up per second formula, gives us an extra 1.3 seconds of running. So that, like I said, I may have made a math mistake here somewhere in the details, but the idea is, yes, if you are a survivor and you're making more turns, it is beneficial compared to running in a straight line away from the killer.
Yeah, and this is actually a square, so I mean, like if you had just a full loop,
yeah, it gets even more interesting.
The whole time you would be actually, you would have this consistent catch-up rate that would be lower than 0.6 in theory, as the survivor is able to do a tighter loop and the killer has to do a wider loop.
I'm going to post some slides with math on here. It's going to be great.
So good.
It's going to be great. So yeah, to answer your question, yes, you gain. How much exactly do you gain depends on how long the loop is, depends on how many corners there are, or if you're doing a loop around a circle, it's going to be slightly different.
Yeah, every turn would account for this difference.
Yeah. If you felt like doing the math yourself, the numbers that you needed were those capsule radii.
Yeah.
And now you have them.
And the killer speeds. So there's some killers who move at 4.4 meters a second, and other moves at 4.6.
Yeah. Things get even more complicated when you dig into them, though, because there's acceleration to keep into account when you're actually turning. It might be that the survivors and the killers don't have exactly the same acceleration. Although
they don't.
Although the acceleration by default in the game is quite high, it does not take characters very long to hit max speed. We're talking about on the order of a fifth of a second, usually roughly for our characters to hit max speed.
I think it's 0.4 seconds for survivors because they move at
0.4.
like 10. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I have to double check there.
So there's a surprisingly large amount of variables that get in here. There's also
turning rate.
Except you can. The turning rate, you can turn at any amount that you want. It's just that if you want your character to move in the direction that you've decided to look at, that's where your acceleration comes into play.
Good point.
Further fun facts about killer acceleration. Killer acceleration during a lunge is different from killer acceleration while just moving. Killer acceleration during a lunge is extremely high. It's practically instantaneous.
We wanted you to reach that 6.9 meters a second as quick as possible.
So
it's true.
So if ever you feel like breaking the laws of physics someday, try starting a lunge from standing and watch as you break acceleration records left and right.
Yeah. Who's the fastest car? A trapper.
A trapper hitting M1.
Yeah. Well, any killer that moves at 4.6, not just the trapper.
Actually, I'm glad that you brought that up because we changed it such that our slower killers have the same speed while lunging as the other killers now.
We've capped it to 6.9 meters a second while you lunge, for no matter what killer it is.
Yeah.
So before they were lunging at 6.6 meters a second when they were moving at 4.4 meters a second.
If you ever were like, why does Hag and Huntress have such stubby lunges? Well, we found it and we fixed it.
Bam. Which release is that? Has it already been released?
That's out.
Whoa!
Yeah.
So much things have happened.
It was probably like 2 patches ago. We're so busy. I didn't even get a chance to talk about friction, but you know what? Let's not even get there.
Let's not. That's too much friction.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Next question.
Next question. It's from KingB. Can the trapper have the ability to open a trap already on the ground?
This is awesome.
I mean, it's not up to me, but oh boy, would I like that.
I know. It would have been nice to come with the trapper update. I know that was one of the things that we got back as feedback from players. We made the trapping speed quicker, change the animation, and have a more smooth out. Would that be fair?
Yeah.
So you don't have to play the whole thing to go through it?
I believe so. No, actually, I know what you're talking about, the sort of the cancelable out animations. No, we did not add that. That was for the Wraith.
That's right.
Wraith bell out is cancelable.
That's right. So, for the trapper, we did not do this. This is a super slick thing.
Yeah.
So basically, when you like bend down, instead of picking it up, you would have the option of being like rearm.
Yeah. Now,
that's really cool.
Back in the day, we had less inputs available. Trapper was also the first killer to be developed. And earlier in the project, there was a very strong desire to keep the controls as simple as possible. Every time a new button was introduced, there was a strong pushback to try to keep everything super, super simple and intuitive, so that it made the game very easy to pick up. Over time, we've relaxed on that slightly. We've added some more buttons. There's mapping. There's some more stuff going on. For example, these right around the Pigs release, we introduced the sort of secondary
January
action.
Yeah, that was the Killer Crouch.
The Killer Crouch, which is also
Killer secondary action. It was just the Pig's Crouch. I apologize.
So I mean, we have more tools now. Like, if we wanted to do trapper rearming traps, it could probably use that button. So, like, whereas we didn't have any input for that before, it is technically possible now.
It's true.
I have no idea when we're next going to be looking at trapper things, but it certainly would be nice. It's been often requested, and we definitely hear you on that.
It's true.
Thanks for that, KingB.
Thank you. Hey, Pat.
Wait.
Do you have another question?
Of course.
Oh, yes.
Here it is. Next question is from Khalednazari. Nazari. Sorry. I fucked up your name, but yeah.
I'll let you do that.
If the luck mechanic was to be relooked at, what changes or additions can the community expect?
I hope to get so lucky one day.
The lucky charm.
Yeah.
That'd be really awesome. You want to define what luck currently does?
Okay. Luck is a mechanic, I would say, that never quite fully got fleshed out. So here's what it currently does. Luck increases your chances of successfully getting yourself off of a hook. It also increases your chances of getting yourself out of a bear trap.
Yes.
And that's about it right now.
That's it, yeah. So it does not affect chests, as commonly expected. No. That's pretty much all I think that would be expecting at the moment, yeah.
From the trivia department,
yes,
it used to affect your skill check chance.
It definitely did.
And there was a debate when we were bringing in luck. Does increasing your luck give you more or less skill checks? And we kind of scratched our heads on that for a while.
Yeah, that was with the Swamp release, because Up the Ante was coming through.
All right.
And it gave you 27% extra luck, for Christ's sake, and you could stack it.
Yeah. So eventually we removed it off of the skill checks, and then we kind of wanted to put it back for chests.
Yeah.
And it hasn't happened yet, but it's there on my personal wish list. I want luck to affect chests. I want people to bring in their salty lips and their plunderer's instinct and hit up those chests and get those awesome items. Maybe that's how you could get ultra rares out of chests. You know, you get your luck up past a certain critical threshold.
Could be great.
These are just my dreams. These are just McLean's dreams. This is what I want to see in the game in the future.
Just get ultra rare chests.
Ultra rare chests.
Yeah, they give you a chance to kill you or give you an item.
Oh my god. Yeah. A chance that the chest like eats you or grows legs and
mimic chests.
Mimic killer. I can't even say that. I want it so bad though. Like, I just imagine you're walking through the level and you're, I must be a Myers, I haven't heard anything. I guess I'll just go plunders, and it just eats you. This chest just eats you. You're done.
You're like,
instant Mori.
You're a fake heartbeat. You get into a locker. It's a killer.
Yeah.
Dwights are just shaking in their pants everywhere. Sorry, bros.
Okay, so if the luck mechanic were to be relooked at, definitely number one thing, let it affect the chests. So you can get sweet items out of chests.
After that, we're not sure what luck would necessarily affect.
The idea was that it would always increase to the survivor's benefit any sort of random number-based mechanic that we do. And then it turns out we didn't really add any.
No, like it could have gone for the RBTs, the reverse bear traps, the jigsaw boxes, but that's already chosen by random to start with. It's not actually a chance on the skill check.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's not.
Actually, that's a really good point. Let's reiterate on that.
Jigsaw boxes.
Yeah, if you're doing a jigsaw box, it is not a random roll when you complete the action. So it's not the same thing as a hook or a bear trap.
Yeah.
It is predetermined. When you get that bear trap on your head, the game already knows where the key is, which is why it might. Anyway, it's slightly
you
different.
don't.
Exactly.
But you can learn.
Do we have anything more? Of course. Oh, sweet.
There is.
Oh, we're not done.
So, next question is from Whitehall. Crows currently feel a bit underwhelming and don't feel like a how do you say? Menacing, sorry, presence to survivors as they should. Any plan to buff the entity's servants?
I've heard a lot about this one.
I have as well.
Back in the day, the crows were more numerous, and I think they were a little bit more agitated, a little bit more willing to take off.
More like a murder of crows.
More like a murder of crows.
Since then.
Yeah, so a couple of things happened to them. I think there were some mechanical changes that made them a little bit more tired, a little bit more lazy.
Well, we removed them too, right?
And yeah, there was a patch that removed a number of crows. It turns out that these little suckers were kind of expensive.
Yeah.
And we couldn't have like 100 of them on the level without really... They took up more performance than they really deserved, given how much they added to the game. Let's put it that way.
It's called the Calling of the Crows.
Calling of the Crows. Mind you, there are definitely improvements that could be made to where crows are now.
Yeah.
Making them take off more consistently.
Not triggering.
Maybe not triggering on the killer or so easily on the killer. I mean, like if the killer steps on the crow, you expect he's going to take off, but like maybe they don't care if you pass 10 meters away. This is definitely yet another item on the personal wish list. It would be really nice to take a pass on crows.
Yes. So different like speed thresholds to trigger them and make them go fly away.
Yeah.
There's a percentage of chance for them to fly away at the moment, even if you're not actually there. Maybe luck could affect that, make crows fly away more often.
I would love. Hey, that's a great idea. Tie luck into the crow business.
I don't know. Back in the day, if you guys didn't know, there were certain killers and players that Spies from the Shadows was quite a popular perk at one point in time. And some players were not even using Spies from the Shadows anymore. They were pretty much just staring across the map, and when they saw crows go, wee, they was like, there's a survivor, he's going to die, and they would go and get him. So crows were super crazy.
I watched some streams of some eagle-eyed players who were very good at spotting far-off crows.
Yeah. In today's day and age, you can still see crows that return. Right, and they might have left because there was a survivor who passed by. If you see multiple crows come by in succession, that he went that way. So you can go chase him down. So that still does exist. It's just not anywhere near as powerful as it used to be.
Yep.
And the killers can actually spawn them or cause them to get triggered as well. So don't fool yourself.
So maybe one day we'll see these buffs for the entity's servants. I'm hoping.
Me too. Awesome. Make crows awesome.
Make Spies in the Shadows 100% chance.
Yes, that'd be cool too.
I would love that.
That'd be awesome. Is there more? There's no more, is there?
Last
It couldn't
question.
possibly be.
Oh
my goodness.
Shit.
So last question from...
You can do it.
It's a good one.
You can do it. Last question
sorry.
from...
Claudette Baguette.
Perfect.
Claudette Baguette.
Okay. All right, this name is so perfect. All right. How do you like the idea of having to find parts or gathering fuel around the map in order to start repairing a gen? Kind of like flowers, but actual secondary objectives tied to the main objective.
Well, I mean, I like the idea. Do you like the idea?
I think it's an interesting idea.
Do you like the idea? Yeah. I have to say, it kind of sounds a bit familiar.
It does.
And...
I think we lost Pat. We might have to wait a moment.
Hold on.
We'll be with you in a second. I think she's still remembering the Claudette Baguette.
It does say Claudette Baguette here.
It's what it says.
All right. No, I mean, we've heard this suggestion quite a number of times, right? Like,
yeah,
I think,
actually.
It's kind of interesting that Dead by Daylight has gotten so much out of one very simple game mode.
Isn't it great?
It's really fascinating, really.
Mm-hmm.
But then people will eventually say, okay, this is a great game mode. What else is there? Could we spice it up? And I think the first suggestion I hear from people is always gather something from the map before I can do the generator, or instead of doing the generator.
Get gears.
So
switch,
yeah,
flip a switch.
Yeah, there's definitely a desire for something like that. I mean, personally, I would be sad if we lost the old classic game mode. Like, I hope that we've always got that available.
I always wonder when you look at like tower defense games, for example, with bases and whatnot that are fairly straightforward. It's always the same kind of objectives. The things around it change. The champions, the heroes, whatever the hell you call it. And I remember people yelling and asking for new types of ways, or new games, or new maps, or whatever the case may be. Like there are some games that do that quite well. Some games that haven't changed map-wise in a long, long, long time, and they still function as well. So I'm not sure if it's necessary, but I can definitely see it being super appealing, especially if it's done well.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, just this very event that we did was kind of our first, dabbling, testing the waters of what the secondary objectives might feel like. Obviously, like we're not saying, hey, the next game mode is just there's an extra thing to click on, but it's interesting. Like we've had an interesting time watching people see how they play when there's different objectives available. Do you want to escape or do you want to get the nectar? How aggressive are people like trying to get something when there's not enough for everyone to go around? So like we're watching and we're looking at this stuff, and it's definitely giving us ideas for the future.
It really makes you appreciate Twitch and the fact that our players play and are willing to show themselves while they play, because you can learn so much. I mean, like being able to observe somebody's doing this kind of stuff and doing crazy things that we would never have actually assumed or thought that people would do, such as the 360.
Yeah.
Bringing it back to the second question or whatever, is amazing. So I'm really happy to be able to, see that.
It's very powerful being able to watch people directly play the game. Maybe a little distracting too. I may have lost a few hours of productivity here and there watching people on Twitch.
I think it's productive. You learn stuff. And you're able to bring it back. Our players are quite vocal as well. So
Yeah. Well, thanks for the question, Claudette Baguette.
Thank you.
I don't know. I think that's it, right? We got no more?
Nope,
That's the
no
end of
more
the paper.
questions.
Okay. Well, I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel? I got a question.
Oh.
You went on vacation recently. How was it?
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to see the other side of the world, past the ocean. It was great. I got to eat a lot of pretzels.
Yeah.
We call them pretzels, not pretzels. Which kind of blows my mind, but if you say it fast enough, people don't seem to notice the difference.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sure they get that from tourists all the time.
Yeah. No, it was great. I got to walk up some mountains and grow a beard, partially. So, I had to join the club.
Working on it.
Yeah, working on it.
Shit.
Well,
I don't have.
you've got some time, Pat. You just need to go on vacation, clearly.
But talking vacation, I'm going on vacation.
Oh, yeah?
Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's an event here.
Me too.
Which is also great. Oh, that's right. No, but you have more than a vacation coming.
That's true.
Yes.
Getting married and flying off.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yes. It's going to be fantastic.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, now that we've shared too much personal information, I think it's time to wrap it up.
Thank you everyone for watching the Q&A session. We're gonna do a live stream next Thursday. So
Hope to see you there.
yeah, exactly.
And if not, we'll see you in the fog.
Bye.
Bye.